Now let's look at absolute values. For those who aren't used to this or familiar with this, absolute values are given by these two bars. These are called our absolute bars. So you can put numbers inside them. You can put numbers like 4 or -4 or -100, 100, whatever you like. But you're just going to know two things. Absolute values, whatever you put inside the bars, the outcome becomes positive, and I'll show you why. Have a look. Absolute value of x. If x is greater or equal to 0, so basically if it's a positive number, the outcome is just its number itself. So say for example, if I have absolute value of 3, see how 3 is a positive number which follows this rule? Then the answer is just 3 as it is, okay? So it's just x, what's inside. But have a look at this one. We have the same absolute value of x, but if x is less than 0, so if it's a negative number, say for example -3, then we have to put an extra negative in front of that number. So the outcome will be negative, so see how we have the extra negative? Negative of that number, so -3, which means negative is positive, so we just have +3 as our outcome. So either way, if we put 3 or -3, the outcomes are both positive. Okay, so that's the idea. No matter what you put inside the absolute bars, the outcome will become positive. So keep that in mind. That's what the absolute values are. So let's try question 23. Find the following. Absolute value of 2. 2 is just a positive number, so absolute value of 2 is also just 2. Okay, so there's nothing you have to change. What about -4? If I put absolute bars around -4, the outcome becomes +4. So even if it's negative, it turns out to be positive. Now see, 4 minus 3 is 1. Absolute value of 1 is just 1. Okay, so positive number, just stay positive. 3 minus 4 absoluted, which means it's -1. -1, we get rid of the negative and make it +1. So both these answers, we have absolute value of 1, absolute value of -1, both outcomes are +1. Okay, so it's very easy. Okay, now we've got an absolute bar inside an absolute bar. So like brackets, always work with the ones that are inside. So work with this first. You can see that 3 minus 6 is -3. And what's this? What's the absolute value of -3? Should become +3. So this one is +3, because even if it's negative, it turns out to be positive because of those absolute bars. Now 2 minus 3 is -1. So absolute value of -1, what's that, guys? Should just be +1. Okay, and that's it. So make sure you do step by step for these ones. Always work from inside out. F. Alright, so we've got two absolute bars. We want to subtract this absolute bar from this absolute bar. So work out these two individually. So you can see the absolute value of negative numbers, both would turn out positive. So that one just becomes +4 and this one just becomes +7. So we have 4 minus 7, which is -3. And that's it. Guys, this negative does not change. This negative stays negative. The only negative that we change to a positive are the ones that are inside the absolute bar, so don't get confused. And I don't know why, some students tend to change the final number into a positive as well for some reason. There's no absolute value around here, so the answer can be negative. Okay, so you only change what's negative inside the absolute bars. 24, solve absolute value of x equals to 2. So what values of x can this be? Well, x can be +2 or -2, because absolute value of +2 is 2 and absolute value of -2 is also +2. Remember, the negative we can change to a positive, so it's basically plus or -2. Okay, so you always usually consider two answers with absolute value equations. Okay, again we have another one. So the inside of the absolute bar can be positive or negative. Okay, even if it's negative, it will turn out as a +7. So we write ourselves, x minus 3 can be +7 or -7. It can be both positive or negative because the outcome will be positive no matter what. So we solve those two equations. So we move the 3 over to the other side and make it a +3. So we have x equals to 7 plus 3 or -7 plus 3. that is 10, that is -4. So the two solutions for the x is 10 and -4. Okay, so you need to add an extra steps for these ones by using your algebra. And that concludes the absolute value questions, getting tongue twisted here. But guys, these questions need a lot of practice. You're not going to be able to understand this just by watching, so make sure you always try the following practice questions.